The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
On today's Farm Connections, we explore one of the most interesting collections of tractors and farm equipment that I've ever seen. I discovered machines that were familiar to me and brought back great memories working on the farm, as well as more exotic tractors that taught me about the diversity and ingenuity behind agriculture. Join me near Zumbrota, Minnesota to investigate this intriguing collection of tractors right now on Farm Connections.
Welcome to Farm Connections with your host, Dan Hoffman.
Farm Connections on KSMQ is brought to you in part by Primrose Retirement Communities in Austin and Mankato. Primrose, a provider of independent and assisted living, is a proud sponsor of Farm Connections. Primrose, this is living. Task AgriPlan Now is an employee benefit program that enables family farmers to take federal, state, and self-employment tax deductions on health insurance premiums and out-of-pocket expenses. AgriPlan Now is a proud partner of Farm Connections. Will Mahler, the Ag Attorney, has been representing dairy farms in Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin for more than 38 years. Will Mahler, the Ag Attorney's office is in Rochester, and Will, a proud partner of Farm Connections. Thanks, Will Mahler.
There's a psychology behind collecting things. It helps people connect with the past, relive their childhoods, or better understand history. When we look at a collection of tractors and farm equipment, we look into the history of modern agriculture. Tractors are instrumental in raising the food, fuel, feed, and fiber that empower society. When we look at antique tractors, we witness the ingenuity and innovation that went into each well-designed, efficient machine. We're reminded of the simpler times and the advantages these machines brought to farm families. Travel with me now to rural Zumbrota, Minnesota, to the farm of Kent Billman, who has collected and restored dozens of great machines.
It was never my intention to have a collection of tractors. It started out really as a necessity. We obviously live in the country, have a long driveway, and we needed a tractor to remove snow. I think kind of after you have one, you kind of need a second one to help the first one out. Somewhere along the line, about the third or fourth tractor, it really got to be a passion. You kind of lose count after that, but it took up a lot of time. I enjoyed the work, and it was fun. I was born and raised on a farm in rural Chatfield, small acreage with my dad, and that's where we started. You know, agriculture really gets under your skin. It really turns you into the person you are today. You learned hard work, you worked in all kinds of weather, and you took a lot of pride in what you did. I think that really helped who I am and part of my passion for collecting tractors. My first tractor was just a simple M with a trip loader on it. I mean, I remember being frozen to the seat plowing snow many times, and it kind of grew from there. I really enjoy all makes and models, but the Farmall on the farm is the one that I really like. My father was actually a John Deere guy, but I liked the Farmalls, and that was what dictated my first purchase. It's kind of grown through the years, and it's amazing how a little bit over a long period of time grows into a collection of 40 plus tractors. What I like to collect, it really changed on what I was interested in at the time. I do like unusual things. I do like things that are a little different and something that's not as common that everybody has. Well, here in the main building, you know, obviously the orchards, I really like the orchard tractors, the high crops, sugarcane loaders, but those are really nice, unique, rare tractors. But when it all boils down to it, that first tractor I bought is still really at the top of my list. It was never my goal to have a lot of tractors. The numbers really isn't a big thing for me. I don't have a lot of duplicates, so you know, as a collection grows, you go for harder to find things and more rare things. Oh, this is a tractor that I never thought I'd own. This is a fairly rare model, especially in this part of the country. It's a full-dressed Orchard 4, standard tractor with the tin and the metal work to go through orchards. Very unique, a lot of unique features. Obviously the tin work stands out, but it was really designed to go through fruit-bearing trees or different crops, and as the tractor went through, it would lift the fruit and not damage it, so the farmer could do spraying operations or disking or even harvesting. And it's really unique. It's a lot of fun to drive. I'm glad I have it. You know, other than just the tractors itself, they come with a lot of history, and you learn different agricultural practices, and you see a lot of country, and you meet a lot of people. So there's a lot more involved to it than just the machine or the equipment. We have tractors here from Louisiana, New Mexico, California, Florida, Michigan, Indiana, Iowa, Wisconsin, Dakotas, and several parts of Canada. It's a collection of different models throughout the country. The longest distance, there's 2 Cubs, Super Cubs, that we actually got from France that were brought over. That would be the longest distance. But we've traveled with friends throughout Canada and North America, just about everywhere. We do everything here, from motors to transmissions to mounting tires to all the body work, the paint, everything is done here. When you're born and raised in a farm and brought up, you know, you learn to do your own carpentry, you learn to do a lot of things, your mechanical work, you learn all those things. And restoring tractors fit in with all the knowledge I have, as far as anything from woodworking to welding to painting to engines. There's really nothing that we figure we can't do or can't figure out here. Condition really wasn't a big concern because we had the ability and the time to do that work. In a lot of cases, I'd much prefer buy a tractor with a bad motor. That way, when I rebuilt it, I knew exactly what I had. My wife, she's been a pretty good sport about it. She goes along with it. She's always trusted my business decisions and what I do for collecting. She knows we enjoy it. She knows the boys are part of it. And she's kind of gone along with it with a smile. Well, my 2 boys are exactly 4 years apart. Brandon, which is a junior in high school, and Brian, which is a junior in college. They've both been raised in the ag and in the farms, an interest in hunting and fixing them up and actively farming. They've all been around me, obviously, through the years, because there's always a tractor in the shed to be worked on. I never asked them to be involved or pressured them. They've just kind of come as time's gone on. Brandon especially is extremely interested in the collection now. You know, you always try to do something better for your kids than you had. And of course, when I was young, I always thought it would be neat to fix up a young car. And to this day, I've never done one myself, but I gave Brian the choice if he wanted to find a particular car that we'd bring it into the shop. We have a paint booth and everything and work on it. And that's what he did. We were going to do the same thing for Brandon as kind of a family project, but we kind of got lost in time. So we started talking one evening and asked him what his choice would be if he'd rather have a tractor or a car. And he picked the one he wanted, and it was the first tractor we had ever owned. It's pretty nice. You can see him when he drives it. He takes pride in it. A lot of those things that instilled in me when I was on the farm when I was young, you can see that. And it's a tractor we had worked on together. He enjoys it. He has pride ownership, and yeah, it really makes me feel good. It really gets under your skin. And a lot of the things about restoring it, it's kind of like reading a good book. Once you start a project, you really want to see it through. You want to see the finished result.
Kent Billman, thanks for joining us on Farm Connections.
Nice to have you here.
Well, this is a great farm and a wonderful collection. What causes somebody to do something like this?
Well, first of all, I kind of started out of necessity. I needed a tractor to do some work around the yard. And when you're in the country and you have one tractor, you certainly find out you need the second one to pull the first one out.
And we're going to look at that first tractor in a minute, but just to look at some of the things you've done. This actually came out of one of your tractors.
Yeah, it came out of this little shop mule here. And every time you get into restoration, you're not quite sure what you're going to find. You hope for the best, but this is an example of a tractor that was well used and had some problems down the road.
Some big problems because this connecting rod is supposed to be straight and move up and down in the cylinder, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And it looks like the piston and the rings are all welded together. What happened? Did somebody try and start it, and then when the crankshaft came up, it bent? What happened?
Yeah, that's probably more likely what happened. The tractor was stuck, and they tried to pull start it, and they bent the crank, and that was the end of it.
So this was what you found. In fact, it looks like part of the cylinder wall is actually fused to the piston wall. Is that correct? Right on the skirt here. It's amazing. So you pulled this out. It's amazing you can get it out of the cylinder. Did you have to replace the block or the sleeve?
We just scrapped the entire engine, so we just started from scratch. When we get to that point, we just start over again.
Start over, and this is the end result?
Yep, this is one we had just finished this winter. We've got a few little details to finish on it. It was a tractor I've been looking for years and could never seem to locate one, and I was lucky enough, a friend of mine located out in Michigan, and we went up and picked it up.
And what's the model?
This is a shop mule. Shop mules are used predominantly in industrial settings, airports, things like that, in factories to move materials around.
Can I get on it?
Sure. It's smaller than most of your farm models, but it's just a really unique tractor. And a lot of the things that I've looked for in the things I collect is I really like to find the odd, the unusual, and the rare. And this is one of them that certainly fits the bill.
You really restored it nicely.
Yeah, like I say, we've got a few touching details to do, but we'll probably use it around the yard here. And it's a little bit smaller than some of the others and easier to maneuver and store.
Exactly. And you've got another tractor with an implement on the side for mowing.
Yeah, this is one of the earlier tractors I bought, and obviously, like a lot of these tractors here, the place that I had bought where I started here wasn't in the condition it's in now either, and there was a lot of brush and a lot of moving, a lot of work to do. This is one of the earlier tractors I bought to actually use, and occasionally still do use it. It's the smaller of the farm mauls, called a Cub, also made as a Cub lowboy. Just a good little neat little tractor to have around, and it's been here for years.
Fun to maneuver.
Yep.
Able to get up around trees and fences and take out weeds.
And good for kids to drive.
Good for kids. Very nice. And I have not seen a Super AV before. Tell me about this one.
A little bit bigger than the Cub. A, B, and C series all came the same engine, same horsepower. This was a Southern tractor. AV, V standing for vegetable or high clear. Used for different crops in the southern part of the United States, not really commonly found here. Farmall adapted a lot of their tractors for different uses, different crops, and different areas of the country. So it's kind of a unique tractor.
And you've got a collection that's unique in that it's not just tractors or equipment from rural Minnesota, it's from around the United States.
You know, after you buy two or three, when it becomes a blur, you start looking for other things that you don't have.
And here you've got a woods mower deck that's an aftermarket.
Yep. We actually have 3 of these used on different farms, and obviously this lawn here. Working tractor, mows acres and acres and acres, and will continue to be in use for years to come.
Originally, the B probably didn't have that kind of implement?
No, the woods mowers are added later, but they really fit that tractor nicely, and it's really a good mowing machine. So again, not possibly a collectible, but more really just a good use, everyday use tractor.
So what's with the yellow color?
Well, it's similar to the A. It's an industrial model. They use this more county work, different industrial applications. The bigger ones were used maybe in the earth moving industry. Not necessarily a farm tractor, although it was based off of farm tractor design. Just something unique. Again, not a lot of them around. I kind of like a little different color.
Well, and speaking of unique, when you look from the driver's or the operator's seat, you're offset from the engine and the fuel tank. Yep. And that's probably for visibility?
Yeah, it was kind of an innovation that International came out, and it was part of their cultivation line where you could look down and actually see the crops that you were cultivating. In this case, if this tractor would have been fitted with a mower or roller, they could still have better visibility for what they were doing. It was a good design. I mean, it suited the purpose, and still today the tractors can be used.
Very nice. What's happening over here?
Well, this is a little bit earlier version of a tractor. This is kind of unique. Obviously steel wheels. Rubber was hard to find in the early years. This tractor has what we call the tip toes. I also have a set of bands for it.
So you talked about rubber being a little bit difficult to get. What year was this tractor built?
This one is in the earlier 30s. The interesting thing about all these tractors is IH had a lettering code system. Z would be 1954, and you can back the alphabet up backwards to find out what year it is. Really? R would be 48, for example. Really? So if you look at this tractor here, and you look at the serial number, it's an L.
Sure enough.
So that'll tell you back all the alphabet back to L, that'll tell you exactly what year it was manufactured. Also, the casting dates on there are the day and month that they were cast.
Can't you imagine the guys in the factory changing the numbers every month?
Yep, stamping the numbers and changing them.
Going down the road wouldn't be fun with this tractor.
The road is a little rough, but in the field it rides just as well as you would ride any other rubber wheel tractor. I've plowed with that tractor quite a few times.
You got the hand crank.
Hand crank, we try to make them as complete as we can and put all the parts and pieces together.
And electric start, so you had both options.
Yeah, electric start probably wasn't as common on this tractor. This one could have been added later, but it was an option for them at that time.
You got an M that looks like it's a little more horsepower than the H.
A little bit bigger tractor. The unique thing about this tractor is, number one, it's original. It's never been touched. It's straight. And the real neat thing about this is what they call a channel frame M. It was the first year they had ever made an M farmall. It has some unique features: tire lugs, gas tanks, and the signature channel in the rear frame below the seat designated as a channel frame M. Real strong running tractor. You could tell it had been cared for, probably very low hours, and just kind of a neat running tractor.
What's happening here?
There was a grill. This section of the grill could be removed because there was a cultivator attachment that went out on the front or for planting, and that's where that was attached, so then they could replace this piece when that wasn't being used.
Kent, we've got a row crop tractor with a narrow front, and we're moving to a tractor that looks a lot different. What's unique about this tractor?
Well, again, we talked about different parts of the country have different purposes, different tractors for different styles of farming operations. In this case, we had the row crop, which is we're common with in our area, where we have corns or crops in rows. And now we moved into kind of a standard tractor. And a standard or a wheatland was used for obviously crops that aren't in rows. The exception are these three, the next three, and they're a part of a collection of 5 that are the orchard series. Obviously, orchards are in 3 main places in the United States: California, Florida, and believe it or not, the east side of Michigan are a lot of orchard tractors. And that's where all of these originated from.
And there's something else unique. I've never seen the hood with the ventilation holes, or what are these for?
Yeah, another thing you don't see on this tractor is you don't see the exhaust, first of all. So the exhaust comes out the side and underslung, and the ventilation holes to let the tractor cool. These were designed to go through orchards of several different crops and to get underneath the branches and the leaves and the trees. They're lower slung, they're narrower, and they try to get anything that would catch a branch or fruit away from the tractor.
Well, it's not fun to get hit in the face with a branch, is it?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing a little less pruning's needed if you can drop the tractor down.
Yep, to get into those tight spaces. We have a 6 series, Orchard Special, which is the gas. We have the diesel series, the same tractor. And of course, its smaller cousin, the 4.
Kent, you've got a great collection, much variety and a lot of different stories. What's the story with this one?
Well, again, it's a standard like some of the others we've looked at, but this is the industrial series. Industrial series weren't necessarily used for ag use, but they were used for road construction, industrial use. They obviously changed the paint scheme for county and township. Larger 20-inch front, heavy rubber, heavy front ends, foot throttle, and a different set of gears in the rear end.
Why the foot throttle?
Obviously, if you're going to be doing road construction, you're probably on the gas and off the gas, depending if you're turning or moving, so it was just easier to have it on your foot than constantly moving the throttle by your hand.
What would this tractor pull?
Probably a sheep's foot or some kind of a roller, obviously a road grader, several different things.
Scraper?
Scraper.
Moving the soil, and of course the sheep's foot would be to pack the soil, probably clay.
Yep. And if you think back in the 40s, what kind of road systems we had and what we have today, I mean, there was a lot of work being done, and these are some of the tractors that got those roads put in place.
I don't see a tractor cab.
No, there wasn't an option in this series at all. There was a couple aftermarket cabs that were available for these tractors, and I've been looking for one, and I'll find one someday. I would like to put a cab on one of these tractors, but they were all open station.
So in Minnesota, that meant snow, sleet, rain, sunshine?
Everything.
Dust?
Yep. So we didn't have the creature comforts we had now.
We didn't have the creature comforts we have now. And you got a spring in front across that front axle.
A lot heavier tractor, a lot heavier built, for obviously a lot rougher ground. they designed and built tractors for the uses that they were going to be used for, and whatever it took, that's what International did.
Can you imagine operating these machines all day long and just really having a good feeling about feeding people and clothing people with the products they produce?
Yeah, and I think even when I was younger, when I ran these tractors on the farm, I mean, you really enjoyed it. There was something about being out in a tractor and working the field. I think some of that feeling's lost with the more modern equipment, and that's probably why I like some of the older stuff.
Well, certainly the people that worked with the equipment begin to bond with the equipment to a certain degree because it allowed them to be more productive and also to get more profit.
Oh, exactly. And one reason I started with the farm balls is because that's what I grew up with, and that's what I was used to. And people get attachments to it. I think collecting as a whole is by people that remember those pieces of equipment on their farm or their dad's farm, and they wanted to continue a piece of that heritage.
Special thing for their family.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet another model and yet another color. What's happening here?
International had a real interesting sales promotion, especially this tractor was one of them, where they painted the tractor white. It was usually mounted with a set of cultivators, and they let farmers use them. Along with this tractor was a whole series of cardboard cutouts that went along to advertise the farm all, and it was what we called a dealer demonstrator. There's not a lot of difference in a dealer demonstrator over a red tractor, but they're just kind of unique, and this one's documented to be an original tractor.
So this unique color was to attract people's attention as they drove by or they saw it operating in a field?
Yeah, yeah. So if the farmer had this field out in the tractor, you knew that he was demonstrating the tractor. They did it for just a short amount of time, and they did it with several different models of tractors, but this was one of the dealer demonstrators.
Neat marketing idea.
Yeah.
And I noticed this one's got the belt in the back instead of to the side.
Yep, this was in the C series, the belt PTO pulley was out the back. A lot smaller tractor, different use, mostly used for cultivating and planting, and the belt pulley would have been out the back for maybe a smaller corn sheller. Another neat thing about this tractor and the Super W4, both these tractors, when they were freshly restored, were at the Mall of America and featured in the Rotunda.
Why in the Mall of America?
There was a farm toy gentleman that sold farm toys up there, and he had a store up there, and he invited me to bring them up. So we have pictures with these with the big Mall of America sign behind them.
So both the Super W4 and the C?
And the White Dealer C, right after they're restored, were in the Mall of America.
Neat.
Yeah.
What happened for you as an owner when you saw these in the Mall of America?
It was really kind of neat because my kids at that time were very small, and it was kind of neat to go up there. And it's the first time a lot of my tractors at that point, even though the collection was much smaller than it was today, to get them off the farm and to show them off. To watch people come through and look at them and ask questions, it was a lot of fun.
Well, and our public has a difficult time connecting with where our food comes from and our farmers, so there was a place where they could. What a neat idea.
Yeah, and especially, in the center of a large metropolitan area that people had never seen these tractors. Obviously out here in the country, in the ag community, we're used to these, but up there, people were asked a lot of questions.
Wonderful. Well, Kent, you've showed us a wonderful collection, and there's a lot of passion and things displayed today and shown today, but you're also excited about your family, so introduce me to your son, would you please?
Well, this is my youngest son, Brandon. He's a junior in high school, and he's got a little bit of the fever for tractors too. So.
Hi, Brandon.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Welcome to Farm Connections.
Thanks.
So, Dad was telling me that you have some ownership stake in this tractor.
Yep, this one here is mine. I got her about a year ago.
Tell me about that decision process. Did you have any other choices?
Well, it was either a muscle car or it ended up being a tractor. I went with the tractor.
Good choice. Why did you make that choice?
Well, I like it a lot more. It's a lot more fun, a lot easier to handle.
What do you do with it?
Oh, just keep her clean, drive her around sometimes, and just keep her going.
Do you help with the collection too?
Oh yeah, I've worked on almost all of them out here.
And it sounds like you're starting some entrepreneurship. You're doing a business.
Yep, I bought a ag roller and do some custom rolling this spring.
So we might make a farmer out of you yet.
Oh yeah.
Can you show us how to start this machine and let us hear it?
Yep.
I want to hear it run.
All right.
I had a great time visiting with Kent Billman, exploring his tractor collection and getting to know his family. I learned a lot, not just about the tractors themselves, but how important they were to the history of agriculture and what they mean to individual farmers and their families. Now let's turn our attention to the next generation of agriculturists and meet the FFA Student Leader of the Week.
We do have a lot of dedicated agriculturalists, but we also need more dedicated agriculturists, and to me it starts young, because I've loved agriculture since I was little and know that it's always going to be there. And the more we work with that and the farther we go with it, and even potentially the younger we go with it, the better we can potentially be in the future. My career plans next year, I plan on attending South Dakota State University in Brookings and potentially going into ag engineering. And in the future, an aspiration is to go to a big manufacturer of tractors, because just in the past couple of years, we've gotten things like auto steer and GPS in our tractors, and just getting to see the evolvement and how much agriculture is progressing is kind of an aspiration of mine, to be able to be a part of that evolvement and the growing of agriculture as we've been going through since the beginning, and to be able to be a part of the result would be amazing.
Join me next time for more explorations into the world of agriculture right here on Farm Connections.